Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show. It's your boy here, filling in for Dale. He's off. I think Dale's feeling a little bit under the weather, so I'm going to be holding down the fort here on this episode. We are recording this on Monday evening. I believe it is the 29th of January,
28th.
something like that.
28th, yeah, day off.
Cool. So anyway, without further ado, our guest today is Vinny Lingham, who we've been wanting to talk to for quite some time. Vinny, how you doing, man?
Hey, man. How's it going? Glad to be on the show.
Good. Yeah, so it's interesting. For anybody who doesn't know, we had been, I think we've all been following you on Twitter for quite some time. Been fans for a while, and then we happened to see you at that conference in San Diego. And I think we were all getting breakfast, and Dale was like, "Oh, I think that's Vinny Lingham, guys." And we're like standing in line waiting for our bagels, and I was kind of like, I don't want to bother him, but Dale, thankfully,
Dale's a social butterfly, yeah.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, so we had a chance to get some breakfast with you and have a little chat, which I know was pretty cool for all of us. So thanks for coming on the show. We appreciate it. What have you been working on lately in regards to crypto, or what's been new in your world in crypto?
Well, I typically do three things. 90% of my job is running Civic. The other two things I'm involved in is Newtown Partners, which is a early stage investment fund, and that is all my Shark Tank deals, etc. And Multicoin Capital. Multicoin is a crypto hedge fund for those of you who don't know what they do.
Cool. So that's probably been a little bit of a tricky endeavor right now within the bear market, I would imagine.
It's actually surprisingly been quite good, because I think we took a position that I think the market was going to be weaker, and so it's we took a defensive strategy with our portfolio, so it wasn't surprising. I mean, look, what happened in 2018 was not unpredictable by any stretch of the imagination. After you saw what happened in 2017, anyone who believed that the 2017 run was purely organic was kind of delusional, because it wasn't, right? And anyway, so once it peaked and hit the 20,000 mark and it dropped down to below 16, you kind of knew that struggled to get enough momentum to break that, and it was going to go all the way down. The one thing I think we're lacking is a real metric to track on crypto. So what metric do we use to determine success? What's our success metric? It used to be transactions, right?
Yeah.
And when those started capping out based on block size, you want to increase the block size. There was a whole ideological argument about what is money, etc., and store of value. And put that aside, the scaling wars forced a massive community split in Bitcoin, and also the rise of countless other cryptocurrency tokens, all with their own different ideological views, and the ecosystem was weaker for it, because it really weakened what was at one point a bit of a Bitcoin maximalist view. I was a maximalist as well.
Yeah.
And we kind of got forced to reconsider. And then the hype cycle that led to the big bubble in 2017. I mean, people were just laughing at you as 20,000, 18,000. Then this is a bubble, right? No, this is a paradigm shift. You're an idiot. Like, okay, I'm glad you guys think so. And it's just like, I don't know. I'm just like one of those level-headed, reasonable people, and when things are unreasonable, you have to ask yourself whether it's whether I missed the mark, or whether everyone else is getting ahead of themselves. And so until we have a metric that we can bank on, that everyone can at least reasonably agree to, I think it's really hard to project or see where crypto goes to next. Like, what is the success metric for crypto?
Yeah.
Is it transactions? Is it adoption? I mean, like, what is the fakeable metric for success?
Yeah, I mean, there has to be, and the thing is too, it's going to be different for different types of tokens with different purposes. Because I mean, it's hard for me to imagine right now, like a sort of like a cash flow thing, like with equities or stocks. It's like, if a company has good cash flow, that's generally a good sign. But I don't think there's like a simple enough metric that applies to every different crypto token where you can go, okay, it has this, so it's that, which is hard. I think some people have made stabs at creating valuation metrics for cryptos, in terms of how good of investments they are. But that seems like an especially tricky proposition.
Well, that kind of holds people off from, investing too, because you got a lot of people who come from the traditional side where they can, evaluate what is this worth and, an intrinsic value, all that. And how do you do that with crypto, with Bitcoin? It's tough, right?
Well, I think the first point I have to make is that the only metric that ever is going to make sense to me and most of the financial world is going to be a usage metric. Mm-hmm. So no matter what crypto you're talking about, if it's not being used, it's not worth anything.
Yeah.
So for me, the hodl mentality in Bitcoin is kind of silly, because if everyone hodl and no one uses it, the usage, the transactions on the network. So like you got to extrapolate some of these viewpoints to get to a point where you realize why it's silly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. It's kind of like with new tech companies. You look at daily average users or monthly average users, and that was the thing that dogged Twitter forever. It's like, okay, it's fun, it's cool, it's it's easy to waste hours being on it, but then the earnings report would come around, and their monthly average users were falling or not growing quickly enough. And it just kind of goes back to this. I think this idea that like attention is like the most valuable currency in this economy. Just getting mm-hmm. people's attention and having them look at what you want them to look at, or listen to what you want them to listen to, or use whatever you want them to use.
Yeah, exactly. So,
sorry, go ahead.
No. So I think we got to get past the current. We got to get past the current mindset. I think that it's all about. Well, okay, let's agree on one thing. We don't know. Nobody knows what that metric is right now. We can have NVT and a whole bunch of other metrics at our fingertips and try to guess what it should be, but no one knows. Mm-hmm. And so until the industry figures out what metric we're willing to live with, I think we're hopefully, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So like, if you're looking at it from like an investment standpoint, like what is something I guess you would look for in terms of like when to investigate? Do you think it's mainly just like a psychologically like momentum driven market, and that's pretty much the over governing, the governing principle in crypto prices right now? Or is it even possible to like have a thesis, or is everyone just kind of winging it, do you think?
Well, like one thing I always say is be a bear in a bear market, be a bull in a bull market. I learned that one from lots of, there's lots of experience around making mistakes around that. As much as it was great to like predict the bubble, I think it's better to, play the game.
Yeah, ride the waves.
Yeah, exactly.
What would you be looking for in terms of like a turnaround right now? Because obviously we've been down for a year, running on like 13 months at this point. What are some signs that you would kind of start to make you interested in the markets again, or pique your interest in terms of investing some capital?
So most crypto markets end with a V-shaped bottom, so it overshoots the leg down. Mm-hmm. So if we break down below 3,000 and it goes down, 2,000 looks reasonable, 2,400 looks reasonable, that range. But realistically, it'll probably, there could be a sharp spike down to, 1,500, 1,300, who knows? But a very quick recovery within 48 hours back above like the 2,000 mark. Mm-hmm. And as a result of that will be a good sign of a bottom. A bottom, it really has like a V-shaped sort of recovery, and everyone who missed the bottom missed the boat. And then you go into a bit of a recovery phase and then holding up from there. And so Bitcoin needs a market, so I'll discuss Bitcoin for now. So I suspect we'll hit 3,000 and break below it, down to the 2,000 bottom, low 2,000 level. But if it doesn't break quickly below 2,000, it kind of hangs in the 2,000, 2,500 range for a while. There's a good chance it's not the bottom. I mean, again, that's from my observations of the market over many years. Mm-hmm. The bottoms are usually like V-shaped in nature.
Right. Yeah. And it's very hard in real time, because like on this descent, on this downward spiral we've been in, we'll hit a certain level, we'll hover around like 55, and I'm like, is this the bottom? I mean, we are down 75%. I try to like convince myself that it is, but then, the overarching theme on this currently has been, well, there's always more to drop. You think it's the bottom, it holds there for a couple months, and then the rug gets pulled out again.
Well, let's look at network effects for a second. I mean, Bitcoin one state had the biggest network effect, or at least relative to every other coin by far. But because of this disagreement in the Bitcoin community and the splits in the community, the network effect is eroded. And so, like there are few merchants accepting Bitcoin than there were before. The stats are out around there. I mean, there's just broad disagreement on crypto and crypto adoption. And so, at one point, we had agreement on where things were going, and we had consensus within the community. And the community is now fractured into multiple camps. I'm not saying any other camp is better. I'm just saying, it is what it is. And so you have even new people coming in, just not knowing what to believe in. One person they speak to is pro Bitcoin, then the other one speaks is pro Ethereum, the other one speaks is pro whatever. And so it's hard to get consensus on like what is going to be global money going forward. Mm-hmm. And everyone has their own view. And just because maximalists have a view that it's Bitcoin doesn't mean that what newbies look at will be the same thing, right?
Yeah.
Newbies running around don't go talking to maximalists. They don't know who the maximalists in the room are.
It's funny too, because when you first get in, I remember when I first got in, Ethereum had just like launched not long ago, and the whole thing from the Bitcoin maximalists was how much of a scam Ethereum was. Don't touch it, and now we look at where Ethereum is, and it's got crushed in the bear market, but it's still one of the top coins out there, one of the most actively developed coins. So it's that thing of just be careful, kind of the newbies are going to make their own decisions, right? And it's just how it is.
Yep, exactly right.
Something I'm curious that we were wondering about, Vinny, and definitely wanted to get your opinion, especially on this, is I think everyone sort of agrees that there's a lot of crap in crypto, a lot of bad projects, bad tokens, things that probably shouldn't exist. So with that aside, what are some areas of crypto that you still find very interesting, whether it be use case or just cool factor? Is there anything that's caught your eye?
I invested in with Multicoin into Solana, which we're pretty excited about. Solana is a high performance blockchain using proof of history as a mechanism for determining consensus. Again, it's interesting. Like all these things are very new, and it's a whole pool of experiments happening right now in crypto, right? So nobody knows exactly what the dominant crypto is going to be. Everyone's trying different things out. We all know that there's tons of scaling issues to be resolved, and so I think it's for me it's interesting looking at new approaches and seeing, hang on, could this be interesting? Way of solving the scaling problem. Every solution that tries to go after scaling has other problems, primarily like adoption, who's going to use it. But I think it's important that we keep looking at ways to scale blockchains. And the difference with Solana, I think, and all the, I'd say most of the others that I've looked at is they're trying to solve it at a layer one, on a layer one basis. And I think for me, a blockchain is a layer one solution. I don't like layer two. My background was information systems, and I studied that, and database administration and that sort of thing. And for me, like a layer two solution is basically a database entry with a checkpoint. So like I don't get it. I don't get why it's important. But again, that's just my personal bias, and I don't know what the right answer is. No, I mean, again, the maximalist view is very different.
Yeah. I think it's like, scaling seems like as interesting a place as any, though, because you got to think that if any of these achieve large adoption, because they're cool or they're useful, they're always going to have a scaling problem if they're working with the current infrastructure. But it does seem like a lot of stuff is like a problem looking for a solution, where it's like, we don't really need this service. But
90% of it is. I mean, I think it's all just premature, if anything.
Yeah.
So, but that's fine. I mean, again, let's run the experiments. Let's be smart about them, and then let's see what comes out of it.
I think that's the most crucial wording too. Is these are experiments, right? Like we don't know exactly how these might play out. 5-10 years down the road. They are experiments right now.
Unless you're religious, okay. So I'm not a religious person by any stretch of the imagination, and so if you're religious, then and you're a maximalist, you believe that Bitcoin is the one.
Yeah,
ordained by God or whatever religious deity. It's true though, right? So like, why? And like, it's a religious belief to a large extent, and that's okay. It's okay to have that belief, and and I believed it at one point as well. I don't believe it anymore. I don't believe it's but I do believe it's possible. I'm not saying that Bitcoin couldn't be the one, but I do think that it's less likely now than it was 2 years ago, because of the the nature of network effects and communities and the rest. But if Bitcoin can easily go on another run again, I'd be hopping on board and cheering it on. But I'm looking to get back in personally. To answer your question earlier on, I'm looking for fundamentals to drive my decision, and I'm not seeing fundamentals. I'm not a big hype guy. I don't buy into hype.
Yeah.
So I want fundamentals.
Yeah, it's hard though, because it's again going back to our first topic. It's hard to even know which fundamentals to look at, and I think it's one of the things that's so tricky about this is a stock will hit a 5 PE, and you're like, okay, this doesn't make any sense. It's way too cheap. I have to buy it. But it seems like more of a feel thing with crypto a little bit.
Yeah, you mentioned on yields, right? And this is one of the problems with crypto. Why, what's the basis for the crypto? And one of the things that one of the things I think people need to realize is until security tokens aside, until we get to the point where there's actually yield, then the only value in crypto is the price of it rising, because other people expect the price to rise, which makes it effectively a Ponzi scheme, right? Until you have real utility in that.
Mm-hmm.
So you've got to get past you've got to get past the current your mindset that it's we know all about shilling and how people promote their own coins and tokens. And by the way, I wasn't shilling Solana. You can't buy the tokens; they're not being traded. Mm-hmm. So it's not it's a private investment. But again, I don't use my Twitter feed to show anything or promote anything. I promote the companies sometimes that I invest in, but I do less of it lately as well. But it's just until you get to a point where there's utility. So let's talk about Civic, for example, right? I mean, we did a token sale. We issued tokens. What's the utility in Civic? Well, actually, that's what we're busy building. We're building a platform where, to do ID verification, you need tokens, and the tokens get consumed in the process. And so the transactions represent ID verification that happens, effectively on using a token. And we built smart contracts out that use these tokens and consume them. So we've been purposely intent on making sure that this is a utility. But other tokens, it's they don't really have a use case for the token, and some of these don't make sense. But I think an identity verification coin that's trustless and anonymous, etc., it makes sense to us.
If you had somebody come up to you and say that they were thinking about launching a platform and having their own token and everything, and now you've gone through the process and the experience of it all, what are some things that you might tell this person before they jump in feet first?
Well, I think the window is closed largely for that. That was, the market run has ended. People have to be a little bit more circumspect what they invest in. And also, quite frankly, the new money is not there. The people are not throwing money into crypto like they were 2 years ago. So, if you're able to come up with something which is a fundamental product and advancement and makes sense, I can totally see it working. But, we have to get there first.
Yeah.
Do you think we'll ever see anything like 2017 with ICOs again?
I doubt it.
No, that's 1,000 people screaming out at once. No, because back in 2017, it was you were just waiting for an ICO to, not you, but people in general were just waiting for an ICO to come out, and you figured, hey, I'll throw $500 at it because it'll launch in 2 months, and that'll be $5,000. And it was a sure thing.
I think there was a regulatory gap at that point in time. A regulatory you could do this. And a lot of companies came in and did it, and the window's closed. I think regulators have came in, they've really put the hammer down, and this gap doesn't exist anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, unfortunately for some, for many, I guess. But also fortunately though, because there are a lot of people who got screwed on ICOs. So I shouldn't say that like it's totally a bad thing.
Well, it's a good thing. The good thing here is that the public has funded a whole slew of companies that are doing a ton of innovations. Obviously, there've been a whole bunch of scams as well. People have made money, lost money, there's been lessons learned. And I think we're a little bit wiser having gone through it. I mean, can you imagine that we went up to $100,000 for Bitcoin on the last one, or even more, and then it all came crumbling down? I mean, the world economy would be in dire straits right now. So we're actually lucky that it ended at a reasonable top. And people are now forced to rethink what it means to be in crypto, whether they want to be in crypto. Like I tweet about the tourists. Like the tourists have left or largely leaving right now. So people aren't dedicated to blockchain. They're not in the space anymore. I think one more leg down will probably wash everyone out, and then we'll be back to real technologists and people who care about the technology and where it's going. But if you care about the technology where it's going, you need to understand that in the real world, crypto has to deliver real value to someone, customers, companies, whatnot, and failing to do so will in theory need to repeat of 2017, but in reality it probably won't, because I just don't think there's to get people to part with their money again anytime soon. I mean, there hasn't been another .com bubble since the .com bubble. So there's unlikely to be another crypto bubble since crypto bubble, because we learned from the .com bubble, and I think we learned from this massive crypto bubble. So, I think I got it wrong when I said I wrote a blog post about preventing another bubble, and I really thought that Bitcoin, after the previous bubble, I'd seen that people would have wised up and Bitcoin would have had slow and steadier growth than I was hoping for. Going for like 3,000 would have been my target for 2017, 10,000 for 2018, I think like 20, 25,000 for 2019. And, slower and steadier growth 2 or 3 times a year, et cetera, and slowing down over time. Yeah, it's more likely to happen now than it was then, because I think, then there was a smaller group of people who learned their lesson. Now there's a bigger group of people who learned the lesson, and let's hope that the next run is based on fundamentals, and we actually create value, and the price follows value.
Yeah, absolutely. Vinny, we got to wrap it up. I know you're a busy guy. You have to go. I wish we could talk to you for longer. I feel like we could probably keep this going for quite a bit. Appreciate you being on, taking a couple minutes. I'm sure everybody learned something new. Really been looking forward to this episode. So thank you again, man.
My pleasure. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Vinny.
We'll take care.
All right. Later, everybody. We will talk to you at the end of the week. All right. Take care. Bye-bye.